Welcome on in to the Utah Blockcast. I'm your host, Steve Bartle, Utah insider for KSL Sports. Joined tonight by the fellas, Cam Beck, Tyson Mall. Fellas, how we doing on a Monday night?
Good, man. I'm also tired, but it was a long weekend for me. I always feel bad complaining about being tired to two guys with small children. Like I understand that I'm not on the same level as you as tired, but let me have this week.
It's just a different sort of tired. It's just a different category. You can be tired. It's just a different category. That's all.
I'm not gatekeeping tiredness because I have two kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want you all to know that I understand that I'm playing like y'all are playing on Heisman level and I'm on like varsity at best. I'm varsity level tired and y'all are Heisman tired.
Yeah, I got dealing with my dog's was in the hospital for a bit last week.
Yeah,
but
man.
she's home. No. She's doing good. She's doing better. She's making progress. I think we still got the ways to go, but she's doing better.
Good, man. I'm so glad to hear that. I saw some of those updates.
Sending the good vibes her way.
Appreciate it.
It's crazy, man. Dogs, part of the family, man. Like we were without, so we went down to Phoenix and we left Huntley with my parents for the week, and it's just weird not having them around. It's so surreal.
Yeah.
So that's good, man. Good to hear she's turning the corner, turning the ship around, and on the upward. Well, let's dive into the topic of the day and the week and the season. Really,
did something happen today? I haven't heard.
Yeah, something did happen. So Utah.
That something was Kyle Whittingham was forthcoming about the future of the QB position.
I feel like that. I feel like that's the most like surprising part of this entire thing. Like that's the breaking. That's more breaking than the actual news.
Breaking. Kyle wastes no time addressing quarterback situation. I think that would have got more clicks than just the headline of Isaac Wilson named the starter for the foreseeable future.
It's a friggin' Simpsons gag. It really is like the announcement, and then it's like Kyle Whittingham forthcoming about QB situation, and then like in small subtext, like Cam Rising history unclear, or Cam Rising future with the team unclear.
He wasted literally no time. I think he said 4 words before he got into the Cam Rising injury situation and the quarterback situation, announcing first in his press conference earlier today that, Cam was out indefinitely and that Isaac Wilson would be the starter until Cam returned. And then later this evening, Utah announced that upon further evaluation by the team's medical staff that Cam Rising is officially done for the season with another season-ending injury. So tough break for Cam. And first, that's where it starts, right? Is you feel gutted for Cam, considering all that he's been through the last couple of years, going through the injuries, dealing with the injuries, and battling back and trying to be available for the team to come back. And after this whole finger injury debacle and all of that, to come back and literally on the third play of the game suffer the freak injury, a guy rolling up on his ankle. Just, man, I've never seen somebody so snake bitten by injury, like injuries like this, right? Like it's not like these are freak injuries, and it's just, unfortunately it's taken its toll. The injury obviously impacted him tremendously, and we can dive into the game. But before we get to that, just with Cam Risings, obviously Kyle Whittingham talked about the potential for a red shirt, but I'd be surprised if there would be much pursuit for that, from Rising or Utah. Not to say that won't change, but just based on what we've gathered over the last couple months, Rising was pretty content on this being it for him. I think we've seen perhaps the final snaps of Cam Rising as a Utah quarterback, and just an unceremonious, exit from the game. And for a player that has done so much for a program like Utah to get that breakthrough in the Pac-12 championship game, to bring Salt Lake City 2 titles, it's just a super sad and unfortunate ending to what was, man, just an incredible career. And unfortunately, injuries have just stripped him of a lot. And he had a lot of potential, early on in his career, and just the injuries mounted and mounted, and now another season-ending injury for him. And so just gutted for him first and foremost. And we'll dive into some other things with Cam, but just your guys' initial reaction to the news.
He's an absolute legend for Utah football. Took the program to heights it's never been to. Has some of the biggest wins and biggest moments in under his belt, and everything you said about like it's kind of his unceremonious end and how disappointing that is. It truly is unfair to him, and to a far lesser extent us not getting to see him kind of ride off appropriately into the sunsets because of how much he's done for this team. And can't say enough about how much I appreciate like what he did for Utah football, and how much fans should appreciate what he's done for Utah football, and just the guy that he is. And I again, nobody's more devastated about this obviously than he is. And it's truly the end of what could easily be. I don't want to like, put a cap on what this program is capable of. I think it certainly could continue an upward trajectory, but like, there's a small part of me that thinks that Cam Rising took this team to places I never really thought it could go, and that it might not go again, frankly. And I think that's important, and means a lot to his legacy. And again, I'll always appreciate him for that.
He's given Utah football probably, I mean, outside of the Fiesta Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, the rest of every big moment in Utah football history was written by Cam Rising and these teams that he's been on. And like you said, it really does suck to kind of go out like this. And I think what made it worse for me is after everything that happened last year, the will he won't he come back and all this, and then he finally comes back this season, and just, man, those first game and a half,
6 quarters,
just 6 quarters, just lit it up. And everybody was like, yeah, this is it. This is the team that's gonna make a big splash in this new expanded playoff. And then for it to, again, such a freakish injury, and freakish injuries, if two of them, and the Baylor one, and then again getting rolled up on, just, I think that makes it just that little bit more worse than it would have been otherwise. Like, just knowing that what this team would, and how excited everyone was for this team. But I mean, like you guys said, dude, no one feels worse about this than Cam does. Yeah. I've been in that situation where, like, I figured or realized I played, my last down of football. It sucks, like, really sucks. And Cam might, maybe he gets a shot at, like, the USFL. He might be able to play again, but like, it's a long shot. So, like, knowing he probably played his last down, like, I've been in that situation. It is one of the worst feelings I've ever had in my life.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough thing to come to grips with, and I hope that fans are just shower him with praise, because this is an awfully tough time for him. To go out in this manner, like, nobody wants to go out like this. Nobody. Like, it's just super unfortunate. He wanted to, that BYU game was a game that he was absolutely looking forward to. And for, BYU fans, considering the things that Cam said about the BYU program and about the game and about all of that, you miss that opportunity to see your team go to battle against Cam Rising. And so it's just an unfortunate thing for everybody here because a lot was put on Cam this season. I think it's very clear that Utah was hoping to feature him in a significant manner this season. Adjusting the offense to him and bringing in players to help him highlight his strengths as a quarterback. And we saw glimpses of it. Unfortunately, that's all we got this season, and there will always be the questions, the what if questions, and that. And it's just unfortunate that we didn't get more of Cam this season, and so it's tough. But he genuinely meant a lot to this program, and I think there's so many great memories, and we can talk into talk to each of our favorite memories of his. I'm sure everybody's going to have similar ones, but I think the thing for me was going back to that San Diego State game and just the instant impact you could see, you could feel with him in that game, supplanting Charlie Brewer, and just the instant mojo, the instant swagger and confidence that Utah offense had with him in there was just incredible. It was an incredible moment to watch that in real time, being there at that stadium and seeing just the change. Right, the being there in the press box, being there as a fan, you see the players on the sideline, you see kind of the body language and all of that, and all of it changed with Cam rising in there. And even before he got into the game, he was engaged, he was lively, he was energetic, he genuinely meant a lot, and that confidence and swagger was something that was important for that team, and it really was. I think the key to Utah breaking through in the championship games in 2021 and 2022 was having that quarterback with that swagger that knew, that had the utmost confidence in his playmakers. And I think that is really the biggest contribution that Cam Rising brought to the program was, beyond his football, ability, his football acumen. It's just that confidence and swagger that he instilled in everybody else around him, I think is, his biggest contribution to Utah football.
And I think that's like one of the more underappreciated things about quarterbacks that I don't think a lot of fans love it, but like you don't realize just how much of a difference that makes. The quarterback's the face of the team. He's always the offensive captain. It's always going to be the quarterback. And that's who everybody looks to, and everyone, kind of starts to emulate themselves after. So if you have a guy who has that kind of swagger that makes playing the game fun, it just changes the vibe of the entire team. And part of me wonders, like, if because we've seen, it doesn't seem like that there's kind of off vibes for the team since he got hurt. And I think a lot of that is, again, the what ifs and who's playing, is he playing, is he not? It just, when you don't have that sort of high energy and mojo and, swagger with the team at a constant level all the time, like it's going to have an effect. And I think we've seen that. So again, like it's just like a intangible thing that you got to have if you're going to go far as that quarterback that's going to, elevate the team's attitude and like we said, swagger, like that's going to get you there. Yeah. Look at every other team. Look at, Texas with Quinn Ewers, the Louisville teams with Lamar Jackson, Oklahoma with Baker Mayfield. Like, it has such a big
it has an impact. Yeah.
Washington with Penix last year. Like, you got to have a guy like that.
Yeah. I think, in terms of, core memories, favorite memories, right? Like, obviously that San Diego State game is a big one. I posted a clip, his 2-point conversion against USC at home at Rice Eccles Stadium. I was fortunate, right place, right time, and, to video record that one and to have that, like, I was right there in the scrum, the celebration, with the fellas, and to have that moment for me, it was pretty cool. And for everybody else, that's going to be a memory that a lot of people think on and remember Cam and what he did and what he accomplished is that final drive, the touchdown, the 2-point conversion. Would be curious to hear your guys' favorite memory, favorite moment of the Cam Rising era.
Hard to top that one. It felt so monumental at the time, and was it was such a big game, and Utah going for the win, and just everything. Mine is coincidentally maybe also a running play of his. For me, it will always be that image of him running from the end for the end zone in the Rose Bowl. His long
Yeah.
touchdown run in that game. Just signifying kind of what that moment was for Utah. Obviously, in that moment too, Utah having the lead and even extending a lead with that run, and obviously ultimately losing the game, but such an incredible experience to be there, to see it in person, showcasing really who Cam is and what he did for Utah in that, more than just a passer. He did so much with his legs and really got an opportunity to make a big play on his own on that big stage in those crisp white throwback uniforms against the Ohio State University. Such an incredible moment, and really something I'll never forget. And again, just so crazy to think that that era is now gone, or seemingly now gone.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to think of ones that aren't like the big ones, like the run or like the USC or the Rose Bowl game. I have two. Well, I have like a main one and an honorable mention one, and it's all comes back again to Cam's kind of swagger and pulling up the team. But him taking that hit against USC in the Pac-12 championship,
Yeah.
and
Another
then
running play.
immediately getting up, huge smile on his face. Like if you see that as a teammate and as an offensive player, and you're like, oh yeah, like it's game on type of thing. Like we got this. If our quarterback's taking a hit like that, helmet getting blown off, and he gets up smiling, yeah, you done messed up. And then
And like the comparison to Caleb Williams that game, and all of the, I don't know if excuses is the right word, but all of the discussion about him being banged up and having injured himself on a non-contact play, and then just moments later Cam takes that shot, pops up, and it's just like, it's skill issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And
Yep.
my honorable mention one is actually a non on the field moment, is talking about, like, again, starting from the San Diego State game, seeing the kind of change in the team throughout that season. The all gas no brakes video spot.
Oh yeah.
Where I think was kind
Yeah.
of the birth of Bad Moon Rising by CCR kind of being his thing. Just that video of them, like everyone talking about, like, oh, they're gonna lose to Oregon, like no one's taking Utah seriously in this game. Just that little spot, and then the wink, like just that was just the culmination of, yeah, this is the guy that's gonna elevate this team to where we never thought they could get to.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
just
that's a
so
great
perfect.
one. Yeah, it really was. And, going back to that Pac-12 championship game against USC, and he's asked about Caleb Williams' fingernails, and he's just, I don't give a shit. He can paint his nails whatever he wants. Like, and just that, hearing that from him, and, and just, him laughing it off. It was another one of those memories. And so, beyond just, the good times, obviously Rising had a significant impact on the offense. Again, I do think Utah was hoping to, build the offense around him and feature him this season. And so, kind of turning this discussion to more football talk, how do we think this is going to impact the team, moving forward? Obviously, with his injury means Isaac Wilson is the next man up. He is the quarterback for the rest of the season. How do we feel Rising's departure and Rising's injury, and transitioning to Isaac Wilson? How do we feel like this is going to impact the team moving forward?
I thought I believe they were talking to Brent today, and them talking about having their like a players only meeting after like the news broke or after they found out that that Cam was done for the year. I thought a really good sign for me at least, because again, this is a big turning point in the season for this team. Like how they respond to this is gonna go a long way with, and how they finish the year. And Brant saying, he's no longer a freshman, he's QB1. Like that's,
Yeah.
you can see the teams like, all right, let's rally around Isaac. Like he's the guy now. And I think Brant even mentioned that it was nice to not have the question anymore of who's going to be the guy. It's like, you got your starter, rally around him. And I think this is going to be a big moment to see just what this team's made of, is how they rally around Isaac Wilson. And I'm interested to see how that goes. I think it's going to go good. Like I'm not that I did that kind of right when I said that, it kind of sounded like I was like, oh, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but I just that's what I'm most interested in finding out, is just how well they do rally around him.
I think it's fair though, Tyson. I think that we've seen a lot of optimism with Isaac Wilson, and we've seen a lot of flashes of really great things. But we've also seen a lot of things that true freshmen do. And I think that your point remains that let's see how it goes in terms of, is there more upside in the more immediate future with Isaac Wilson, because some of those things are now clear. The team now has clear vision into who QB1 is, and there's no more confusion or drama around who that's going to be. They've seen Isaac, they've seen what he can do, they've seen that he's capable, and I think that there's a lot of evidence that, and a lot of reason to think that he will just continue to improve even within the season. Every game he's started has been better than the game before. I know that the Arizona game was particularly tough for some reasons, but I do think that was probably his best game. And I think that the Oklahoma State game before that was better than that. And his, Ohio and Utah State was, or I shouldn't say was better than that, excuse me. It was an improvement from Oklahoma State, and then that was an improvement from Utah State. I think that there is reason to believe, especially going into the next couple weeks, that Isaac Wilson can settle in even more, and just continue to progress. And with the loss last week, like it feels like a very natural turning point to, toward the future of the program and the future of the offense. And even that, I think, can give this offense maybe a little bit of, I don't want to say lowered expectations, but take some of that pressure off of kind of what, because truthfully, with Isaac Wilson starting, there's a little bit less urgency to, and now with obviously 2 losses under your belt, there's a little bit less urgency now to there is urgency to win, but there's a certain level of pressure being off, because you're now not having to think about like, well, are we leaving something on the table because Cam's not out here? Do we have to grind that much harder to make up for these differences? It's just like, if this team can settle in and play and, adapt to what Wilson has, what Wilson doesn't have right now, I think that there's a lot of reason to be optimistic in the short term. I'm really eager to see Isaac Wilson progress. I think that, like, frankly, he's looked way better than I would have expected him to look as a true freshman in this offense. And so just he spreads the ball around really well. We've seen he's started to favor certain guys, and for good reason, because they are the stars on this team. But he has completions to more receivers this year than Cam Rising has. And I think that type of thing will matter in terms of, like, bonding with the offense, getting their trust, and starting to, just see the whole field. Overall, I'm really optimistic, really excited to watch Isaac Wilson. And to that same point of pressure, like, I think that also extends to fans, like at a certain point too.
Yeah.
Like not that the season is lost, not that there's nothing to watch or hope for or anything this season anymore. But the time horizon for success is now much longer. And I think that it's something as fans we can appreciate now, to just be like, this is a raw product on the field. It's going to get even better. Appreciate those moments that are going to be really good, and take those moments that aren't so good with a bit of a grain of salt, because we're still ironing out the creases here.
Yeah. No, and those are all great points. And Tyson, I'm glad you started where you did. I thought that was a really interesting quote from Brent. I think he essentially said, you're no longer a freshman, you're QB1. And I think that says a lot, right? I think there's a lot to kind of pick apart with that, right? Because Kyle Whittingham at the same time in his press conference said it's important to keep in mind that he is a true freshman, there are going to be growing pains. And I think, for Brent to say what he said, I think, it's essentially telling him, Isaac, like, it's on you now. Like, you hold the mantle, like, you are the QB1. It's time to start. Everybody is going to start looking at you as that, and you need to carry yourself, as that QB1, as that guy. And I think, like, that is such an important thing for this team, with all of the uncertainty that we all have experienced, players, fans, with this, will he or won't he play, on a weekly basis. I think knowing that Isaac is going to be the guy moving forward is going to help this team. Now that they know who the guy is, it's going to help coaches, you know, hone in on what Isaac Wilson does well, what he doesn't right now, and to help develop him, right? The coaching now changes, right? Because you're no longer having to balance a game plan for an experienced quarterback versus an inexperienced quarterback, an experienced quarterback with an injured hand who can't go under center versus a quarterback that can. Now it's just, you have the true freshman that is capable of making a lot of throws. There have been some throws he's made this season that, I don't know that Cam Rising can make, even healthy. And just that arm talent is, it's exciting, but at the same time, the inexperience is such a huge factor that there are going to be growing pains. And we've seen a lot of those already, right? With the interceptions, with, the missed opportunities, whether it be with his legs to pick up a first down, or missing a check down or something, things like that, right? And so, I do think now that we have sort of turned the page, that Isaac Wilson is now the starter for the rest of for the time, for however long he's going to be here, right? With whatever Cam's situation is going to be, Isaac is the guy. And I think for everybody involved, knowing that is going to be a big deal. And so, in terms of what it means schematically, I'm actually kind of interested to see what this will do schematically, because as Andy Ludwig shared today, they couldn't go under center with Cam because of the hand injury, the finger injury. And so, what have we been talking about with Utah over the last couple of weeks is just the lack of identity. And what has been Utah's identity over the last 2 to 3 years? It's been 12, 13 personnel under center, handing it off, being that physical team. And I think Utah can get back to more of that, right? The things that we've seen them do well in recent years, they can get back to that. And I think that will benefit Isaac, that will benefit others in the offense. And I just think, it's, again, there's going to be growing pains because of the inexperience, and just Isaac is, not at a level anywhere close to where Cam Rising was in terms of what he's seen on the field and how to, execute against different looks. But just considering, the talent that Isaac possesses, and the team that Utah still is, right? It's still competitive. They've still been in these games. They've just come up short. I think, there's reason to be optimistic that they can get this figured out, that they can get the wins they need to, and can be competitive the rest of the way.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, Isaac's got the goods to do it. There's going to be a couple times where you're going to be like, dude, what are you doing? But it's just because he's an 18-year-old freshman.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want to go back to with Brant's comments really quick is the way he said it, and I'm hoping I'm reading into this right, is that he wasn't necessarily saying, all right, Isaac, you're QB1, like you better step up. It's, hey man, you're our QB1. You're our guy now.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Like, it's like, I think that's a big difference in attitude with how you're gonna, especially for an 18-year-old true freshman, is you can't expect him to come in and lead you. You gotta bring him up to your level. You've been here for a while. Like, you got to pick him up.
And I think I still think both are applicable, though, right? The veterans came here to
for sure.
win, and the veterans want to produce. They want to win, and they're looking at him to now be that guy. So yeah, look, you are QB1 and you are our QB1, but there's also pressure with that. And I
for sure.
Brant has not been shy to speak his mind and say his piece. And I think, there is a little bit of that too, where the veterans are all looking to him. There's frustrations, after 2 losses. And I think they want Isaac to step up into that role and carry himself in that manner. And I think that will go a long way for him in the offense.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like, he's going to have the pressure on him. But yeah. I think it's going to be up to the guys in the team, but especially the veterans, guys like Dorian, guys like Brant, to pick him up and be like, hey man, like, we got this. Like, let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think, Mekhi, Brent, those guys are the vocal leaders. Those are the guys that are setting the tone, and they were positive today. They were steadfast in their belief that they're going to get things corrected. And I think, it's tough given everything that happened Friday night. I think there's just a lot of frustration given the fact that they could not produce. What's maddening about that game is, when you look at and going back to Arizona State and Friday night, looking at the production, Cam completed 16 passes for 209 yards. When he gave these guys halfway decent throws, they made plays. They were productive. And I think, if you give these guys, Cam had 21 incompletions in the game. If you give them 6, 7, 8 more decent throws, particularly a few I can think of. Dorian Singer on a crosser were wide open that was just
God.
And you're just like, man, if he gets him, that, like, Dorian is probably, fighting for the end zone. Like, it's just little things like that where the difference between Cam and Isaac is there's a big difference, but Isaac can still make plays that Cam couldn't on Friday, and Utah was still competitive in that game. If they get 2, 3, 4 more plays in the passing game, what sort of impact does that have on the rest of the offense, on the rest of the team in that game? And they're going to need that, in these next 2 games, especially to build some confidence, against TCU this Saturday and against Houston next week on the road. You get a bye week to continue working on things, and then you've got that big stretch. I think it's super important for Isaac to kind of hit the ground running here.
Yeah, and I think that, again, we've seen so much progression from Isaac. Like, the downsides of his game are, it's not like Cam didn't throw interceptions, not just against Arizona State, but throughout his time at Utah. Like, he did throw interceptions. He did make mistakes. Isaac will also make mistakes. But to your point, like, the Dorian, the crosser to Dorian, one of the early balls to I think it was Calderella that just had no chance. One of the screen pass and stuff that was missed. Like, those are all the little things that those little things add up, and they turn into points. And in a game that was as close as that was for as long as that was, those things matter. And I think that having Isaac out there could be a good net positive for this offense, all things considered now with Cam's health and everything where we're at. I think that his running ability, some of the things that we've seen frustration with, we've already seen improvement on. The big frustration in the Utah State game was that there was a couple of, like, 3rd downs or 4th downs, I can't remember off the top of my head, where he had an easy path for the first. Against Oklahoma State, he started doing those things. And same thing going into in the Arizona game. Some of the throws he made, again, made a couple of throws he shouldn't have to make interceptions, but also made a lot of throws and decisions and made a lot of progressions that we haven't seen him make yet, or that we hadn't seen him make before. And going into halftime had as good of a stat line as we've seen from, frankly, a Utah quarterback in a long time. Not just a true freshman on his fourth start. I think there's a ton of reason for optimism. I think that the Isaac Wilson era will be very good and exciting for Utah. And there's plenty of reason to think that this team can still win now with Isaac Wilson. I think that we've said a lot, and there's, given the last couple of weeks, a lot of frustration around this idea. But the point is still remains, and is still true, that like, this is Utah's most talented team probably ever on paper. Like, whether the on-field product is reflecting that or not, it doesn't change the fact that that is true. And like, it also goes to show that like, Utah's not impervious to some of these things that happen to very talented teams. Talented teams lose football games all the time. Talented teams have underwhelming seasons all the time. Like, Utah is not impervious to that just because they're more talented than ever. And so like, but they do still have that potential that talent offers you because they're so much more talented. And so like, now that this team can kind of settle in, hopefully a lot of this, I don't really care what, like, I know it's officially speculation. I don't really care what players say or don't say. Like, this has absolutely been weighing on players and has been something that they've all had to think about that now they don't have to anymore. And like, hopefully that matters in when it comes to playing on the field.
Yeah. No, and I think, this has been, I genuinely think like this situation and this week is kind of serving as like a genuine turning of the page, right? I think Utah is focused on moving forward and trying to change the vibes around the program. It was interesting. Keanu Tanavasa, he texted me this week. We haven't podcasted because he's been dinged up and he's taken a lot of the time. The time that we had to podcast together on Wednesdays, he's taking that time to rehab and to get right so that he can get back quickly. He texted me today and was like, Steve, we got to record because we got to change the mojo around this team right now. And I think this whole moment, and I think you're already starting to see it with kind of the social media aspect of it with the fan base, that this is kind of like just the tension is gone, right? I think that is the big thing here, is the tension, the frustration, it's gone. We have resolution. It's unfortunate what the resolution is, right? Nobody wanted Cam to be injured at any point this season. Nobody wanted any of the will he or won't he. Nobody wanted that. Nobody anticipated that being an issue this year. And now that we know the path moving forward, I think it's just kind of, the tension is gone, and I think it's allowed for a bit of a reset for the fan base, which I think is important. I think it's going to be, even more important to rally around the team, right? Given everything that this group has been through the last couple of weeks with the 2 losses, losing their star quarterback, there's going to be doubts, concerns, frustrations. A lot of guys, a handful of guys came here to play with Cam specifically. He was a big factor in certain guys coming here. It's important for the fan base to rally around the team. And I think it's important for the team to embrace this opportunity, as an opportunity to genuinely, shift and right the ship. This has to be the week. It was unfortunate that they couldn't get it done last week, but given the injury to Cam 3 plays into the game, that played a big role in them being unable to right the ship. But this week, given everything, I think this is serving as a moment for the team to kind of hit the reset button and to get going again.
And I think the thing I keep coming back to, since the news happened and going forward, this is going to be a big a big moment for Ludwig too. I think.
Yes.
Tailoring this game, the game going forward in the offense to Isaac's strengths, putting him in positions to succeed. Giving him the plays and the situations that kind of play to his strengths and to where he can just go out and, do what he does best and play the way he wants to play. And, he's not Isaac Wilson in Cam Rising's offense, like trying to do the same things that Cam does, trying to make the same reads or the same, calls that Cam does. He's got to start putting everything he's got into giving Isaac the most opportunities to succeed with his own skill set. And the one thing I want, and this also comes back from this last weekend, watching the Lions and Cowboys game, is I want Ludwig to open everything up that he's got. I want all the trick plays. I want like all of that, because the thing again that we know, everyone
want
knows
the Spencer Fano. You want the Spencer Fano.
I want the Spencer Fano penny
lateral pass,
hook and ladder. Because if anyone on that offensive line's athletic enough to do that, to pull off something that Penny Sewell
could do it,
it's Spencer Fano. But
Spencer Fano could do it,
because we know the vibes around this team are not great right now, and the one of the big things to turn bad vibes into good vibes is having fun playing the game. And who doesn't have fun when they're got fun, cool trick plays? Who
doesn't love a big fat guy touchdown?
Exactly. Like no one hates that. So like I want I don't want them to kind of clench up and be like, oh, we can't drop another game now and play tight. Like you gotta go full on, like full bore into it and open everything up and let the guys have fun. Like football's so much better when you're having fun than when you're not.
Yeah.
Man, and this is so pessimistic. First of all, completely agree. Like, get whatever it takes to get these kids having fun again is what needs to happen. And because you're right, I think that there is something heavy laying on the program right now with Cam's departure, and they need to shake that off as soon as they can, because it's football's too hard to not be fun. I played on a high school football team that won one game in 2 years. And let me tell you, we hated football. When you're losing, when you're playing that kind of football, it's awful, because you're just getting your ass kicked all day for what? And so find ways to have fun, because otherwise it's too hard to be worth doing. And but the pessimist in me is almost like, I, without being too much of a downer, I certainly don't want Utah to lose, but I almost 2 losses probably doesn't take them out of it, right? They're crazy things can still happen. It very well might take them out of it. It very well may be that their chance at the Big 12 championship game and the playoff and whatever has now sailed. But part of me is just like, screw it, lose one more so it's officially sailed, and then you can just go have fun. At some point, it's just like, listen, if we're sitting here at this 50-50 thing and we're all going to be miserable wondering if this is going to be, it's like, just lose the damn game and get it over with. And just go out there and have fun playing football again. And I obviously don't want that to happen. I would love for Utah to be 10-2 and to see what happens. But I'm to the point now where, and call it apathy if you want, but I'm to the point now where I'm like, man, if another loss makes it so this team can loosen up and this can be fun again, sign me up for that. Because if it's not fun, what are we doing?
Right. No, I do think you guys are onto something here, right? I think this team needs to start having fun, and I think you have fun by scoring touchdowns. So here I am thinking, oh, Tyson's transitioning into the Ludwig, and we're going to talk some X's and O's and how Ludwig needs to give Isaac some easy buttons, some hot routes against pressure and against blitz. And what do we get? We get fat guy touchdowns. That's what we need.
Baby.
Fat guy touchdowns and losses. That's where Tyson and I are.
That's where we're at with this. I'm thinking, Ludwig, give him some hot routes on some blitzes. he's talking about protecting him more and having more guys in for protection. I'm like, no, get him guys out into the pattern and out on routes. Give him some options. Give him some short, quick stuff. That's what we need more of. Isaac is good when you give him these quick decisions, right? The RPO type stuff. Do more of that. That's what we need more of. He's
Give me
able
some
the
deep
weights
balls.
that too.
Sorry to interrupt you, but like
send your fat guy down deep.
Yeah, like just get
that'll lead to some losses.
Listen, as long as Fano isn't covered up by another person on the outside, he's eligible to go as deep as he wants. But really, like, have we seen a true over the top deep ball since Cam missed Singer in I think it was early in the Baylor game? I don't think we've seen a guy get behind the defense, or at least a throw for a guy behind the defense. And it's just like, yeah, you know what? Give us some of those. Give us some of these. Like, sure, he might throw.
Take some shots.
Take some shots. Like, go out there. Like, play a little Madden out there. Like, don't like enough of this. You know,
4 verts, baby. Just send them.
I just like, and that says obviously it's more complicated than that, but it's like it feels like even the coaches and even Ludwig is calling things a little tight and just is afraid to take the governor off. And like, and just because of that, I think we've seen Andy Ludwig do this before, and like to the point that it's become something of a joke. Like, I think he sometimes is playing chess when he doesn't need to play chess.
That's fair.
For instance, Keithy Wildcat with Cam split out on the 13-yard line with goal to go. It's just like, hey, you're really overthinking this. Yeah. And that's what I want a little bit less of. Is just like, Ludwig, what would you call for this play if you knew you were going to win this game? Like, if you knew this game, you were going to win this game, what play would you call right now? And like, I feel like that's where I want this team to get to, is playing, like, even the coaches playing with a little bit more confidence, like, of just not calling things so tight, not calling things so like trying to trick and it's like, man, let your guys go out there and play.
Because some of those like in certain situations, like it bothers me now. Like when I went back and watched it. Again, the Charlie Vincent direct snap fumble, that was a reverse to money, and there was nobody on that side of the field. Money was going for a long ways. If that play, if Charlie Vincent doesn't fumble the snap, and I think he knew it too. I think he got a little too like, I got to get this to money, and it just threw his timing off. But there was nobody over there. So like. You don't got to get, super crazy, like swinging gate type crap or, anything like that. Just like those just reverses, like, throw a throwback or a flea flicker, just sprinkle it in. Just sprinkle in some of those like crazy plays or a reverse every now and then and just make it more fun for the guys.
Kyle should put a count on like a pitch count on runs between the tackles for Andy Ludwig.
Oh man,
just be like, you've got 8 of them this game. Use them wisely.
Yeah, dude, like
that number's too high.
Oh man,
they ran it outside the tackles like one time against Arizona State, and it went for a touchdown.
Right. We've talked about this, right? Like they are running different plays, right? These are different run plays that they're running, but they're all inside the tackles. And I think that's the issue, is you're not changing the angle, the vision. You're not changing, where these guys are looking. And what do you know? Mekhi Bernard scores off right tackle. Like, hey, run it outside. Do that more. Like, run outside.
That's what he's better at too.
Oh man.
Why are we running Dijon Stanley in between the tackles? Why? That is not his game.
I mean, to a certain extent, right? You can't be calling specific plays for guys when they come in. And that's what, like, sure. I see people saying too, like, whatever happened to the Dijon Stanley wheel route? It's just like, listen, you've played that hand 3 times now.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably not there.
If he's in, they're keying on it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But to that point, it's just like, if he's in, they're keying on it. So play off that. Do something other than the same thing with
angle
these
route.
guys.
Send him on,
Angle route.
Yeah.
Give him an option route.
or send him on a wheel route and send money on a post to the middle of the field. Make the safety make a decision.
Man,
the safety make a decision.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's most frustrating to me from the offensive perspective. And I don't know how we necessarily even got on this topic.
I don't either. But the volume got louder.
But like, I see, like, listen, all due respect, fans. I'm including myself in this. We are not that smart. We're just not that good at this. And like when we can, like when it comes to be like football, like knowing ball.
Speak for yourself.
When we can call the plays before they come, it's a problem.
Right. That's bad.
Yep.
Like,
and I think too, like the other side of that coin is, and this is entirely to your point is, football people can outsmart themselves, can think they're too smart and just overthink it. And that's what we're dealing with here.
They're expecting me to do something different.
Yeah.
See? That's why I do the same thing every time. It's Bart Simpson. It's being like, it's Lisa being like, poor Bart always picks Rock. And Bart's like, good old Rock, never let me down. Andy Ludwig is just playing Rock every down.
It's like, incomplete pass on first down. All right, Mekhi, inside zone.
3 yards. You pick up 4 3-yard gains, first down. That's business. The thinking there. We're in business there.
That's the thing too, is I swear to God, sometimes I think that's the mentality. It's just like, listen, as long as we get 2.5 yards on every play, we're on schedule. And it's just like, well, I hope that plan works out for you. Let me know how it goes. Because
it definitely is a thing. They're very content with, I shouldn't say very content. Obviously they would love to be more explosive, but they understand that certain plays are just there to get 3-4 yards. And considering Kyle Whittingham and his love for ball control and how important that is, that plays into it. And so that's a big thing there. So you've got to be willing to ease up off of that a little bit.
All I ask is that Utah every now and then be like, what if we called a play that was for twice as long as we need it to be?
Can we do that? Andy would be like, can we do that?
Like that
is that allowed like, listen, here?
To be on schedule, it's 1st and 10. We need 5 yards. Just like, what if on this play we tried
Isaac
to
throw an
get
incompletion so we can run one of these 6 or 7 yard plays.
It's just, I feel like, I swear to God, it feels that way sometimes. That it's
it
just
really
like,
does.
Listen, it's first down. We get 5 yards on first down. We don't get 6 yards on first down. We get 5 yards on first down.
Mekhi, you go down at 5.
Like, and I think anyway, it's explosive plays are so important, and we just don't see enough even attempts at them. And I think that's where I get so frustrated. It's just like, yeah, that money play. That money inside zone play works for exactly as many yards as you need it to, and until it stops working. And like, it's just when we're calling these plays out from the other side of a TV screen, it's just like their defensive coordinator has watched more film than I have. I guarantee it.
And, they know.
They
know. So mix it up a little bit offensively. And with Isaac, you should be able to do that a little bit more. Obviously, with Rising and his experience in the passing game, like that's going to change things. But with Isaac and his legs, you have some options. You have the ability to incorporate some more option, some read zone, some RPO type stuff, and that can be a way to kind of build the offense moving forward. And I think, with Isaac taking over, it's these next 2 games are crucial. TCU, Houston, Utah, if they're going to have any sort of chance, they're going to preserve their chance at a Big 12 title championship game type run. They got to get these 2, and these 2 are still winnable with Isaac taking over. Obviously, it's going to take a much better team effort overall, not just mostly offensively, but even defensively. Tackling needs to be cleaned up. But these 2 games are vital to Utah season. And
I'll say it. These are 2 bad football teams. Like you need to win these games.
I was gonna say I'm glad it's these 2 games and not like Iowa State or or the BYU game or Colorado. Like, I'm glad it's TCU and Houston that are the next 2 games.
Yeah,
after this whole
you need
situation.
For
these
sure.
two games exactly where they are on the schedule, and you need to win those 2 games. And like, if you lose one of those games, it's just gonna be that kind of the rest
You
of the
got your
season,
wish,
y'all.
Cam. You got your wish.
Yeah. No, these are the games I want them to lose. But I don't want I just TCU and Houston. I don't want to leave any illusions to like, we'll see what happens. Go out there and fight and try to squeak one out. It's just like, no, you need to win both of those.
You need to win these. Yep.
If you don't, I don't know how much comfortably means, but like, those games need to be won. If those games are lost, it's just like, the season's just, they're gonna get harder after these 2 weeks.
Yep. Got to get
BYU is a good football team. Iowa State's a good football team. Might even squeak out that 10th win for the first time ever. But like Colorado, you could very easily lose to Colorado this year. Like, you lose to TCU or Houston, you're probably gonna lose to Colorado this year. Do you know how bad that's gonna look for me personally if we lose to Colorado this year? I've talked way too much shit about Colorado for the past half decade for Utah to lose to them. I personally need them to win these next 2 games so that I can continue my shit talking of Colorado. That's what this is all about.
Preserve the Colorado shit talking.
Somebody the Buffs or frauds.
Somebody said this the other day on Twitter, and there's a semblance of truth to it. Like, there is a certain joy of like accepting, like, it's one thing to have a team you root for, and there is another level of enjoyment and joy for having a couple teams you are just an absolute hater of. And like, it's easy to be like, oh, there aren't Utah fans, there's just BYU haters and all that. Like, it's just like, listen, they can both exist, but like, yeah, it's a lot of fun to cheer against teams because like, there's one team you get to cheer for every week. You can hate as many teams as you want all week. You can revel in their potential misery forever, and like, with pretty much no recourse. Like, you can just, like, I just get to hate Colorado for no reason other than that they exist. And that's great for me. I enjoy that. And I suggest you all do the same.
Yeah. Find your fraud. That's what Cam is.
Hate irrationally. And
find your fraud.
That and make that your new joy. Screw Utah football. Like, stop being a fan. Start being a hater. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, this pod is what I needed to turn the page. This has been awesome. So yeah, you guys, we've already kind of dove. We've already dove into divid words.
English.
Divin.
We've already looked ahead to the remaining schedule. TCU, Houston, those are must wins, and Utah is still favored in both of those games, according to the great ESPN FPI matchup predictor. Utah is still favored against TCU, against BYU and Colorado. Let's take a look at that. What do we got here? What do you guys
saying? Go win these next 2 games by 10 points each and watch yourself be favored over BYU on November 9th.
BYU holds a 51.6% advantage in the matchup predictor at ESPN.com right now. You win the next 2 games, that'll change.
I'm just saying, like, right now, BYU is going to be probably, if the line was posted today, BYU would probably be a small favorite. If you win these next 2 games by 10, you're probably a small favorite because you've got them at home, and rivalry games are weird that way.
Iowa State is ranked number 9 in the country. I did not realize that, I guess. Wow.
Yeah, man. They've
taken care of business.
It's gonna be wild when they lose 3 games to end the season, because and then
that's
their bowl
just
game.
Iowa State. Yeah,
that's just they're gonna hit that 9 win, and they can't break that ceiling. It just is what it is. It's a state law or something.
their Cam Beck is going to be like, we need 4 losses.
This team plays too tight with 8 with the potential for it's like what we need is to stop at 8 because at 9 we're too close to 10.
They're Tyson Mall. We need more fat guy touchdowns. Where are the fat guy touchdowns?
They're like, if we win 10 games, Matt Campbell will leave. We have to stop at 9.
We must stop this. Oh man. Well,
this made me think of the John Madden line from The Replacements. The best thing about a fat guy touchdown is then you get a fat guy spike and you get a fat guy dance. And I need to see
more of that.
Fano's moves. I need to see Spencer Fano's dance moves.
Listen, Spencer Fano is balling right now. Regardless of the touchdowns, the lack of fat guy touchdowns for him, he is dominant right now. He's playing at a great level. Appreciate your Spencer Fano at the right tackle position. He's playing great. Guys, any final thoughts before we put a bow on this one? Call it a show.
Fat guy touchdowns.
I don't really want Utah to lose. I just want to make that clear.
Thank you.
That I hope they win all their games. I want Colorado to lose though. That one is true.
Yes. And again, please find your fraud. For myself, for Cam, for Tyson, this is the Utah Blockcast signing off.